Okay, for this video, we're going to look at the option of creating a completely different bottle in NURBS. So in our source images folder, we had all of these bottle images, and you'll also notice that I had this hot sauce image. So this is a very symmetrical bottle. It's very radial. It's pretty much the same profile all the way around the bottle. And although this is a bottle that would be pretty easy to model in polygons as well, there's a couple of benefits that NURBS gives us that are going to be pretty nice when we're making this model. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my four views. I'm going to go to my front view, and I'm going to go ahead and bring an image plane in of that bottle. So bottle, and I'm going to do hot sauce. Now again, I was very sloppy in how I took this picture, so it's not perfectly centered. Some of that is intentional just to show you we can place this bottle and get something that fits in here pretty well. So I'm going to get relatively up and down, and then squeeze this in here. And one of the ways I can kind of line this up is by looking at how much of a gap I have between this edge and the side of my bottle. Let's see if that's not too bad. So that's not bad. I'm relatively happy with that. Maybe needs to rotate just a touch more because I got a little bit more of a gap up here than here. So maybe something like there. Yeah. So that's not bad. We'll stick with that for right now. Again, in my perspective view, it's right here in the center of my viewport. So, and if I created an object, it's going to be right there on top of it. Sometimes that's nice, but now is not one of those times. So I'm actually going to move this back a little bit, just so it's kind of out of my way, and I can model right here in the center of my scene. So, as I showed you in the previous video, NURBS objects are actually just made up out of curves. So if I go to curved surfaces, you'll see that I can make a NURBS circle. I can duplicate that circle. We can do all sorts of different ways of generating these surfaces. So I'm just going to get a couple of these out here so we can see. He rotates it like this. And so I can grab these three and do something like this loft, right? And it's going to give me a NURBS surface, and I can then do different things with these curves still yet to manipulate this shape, right? And the curves that I'm editing are actually the curves I use to generate this mesh or this NURBS object. Now, there's a couple of different things we can do to generate these, and once we have them, we can also slice parts out of this, and we can do a lot of different things to it. My personal preference, the reason I use NURBS, is to quickly get forms like this, and then I can convert that to polygons to do additional things to it. So I'm actually just going to delete all of this, and what we're going to do is back in our front view, we're going to draw a profile curve of our bottle. Now, as I've shown you here, there's a lot of different ways to draw curves. I can draw them with a pencil, right? I can also draw them with this EP curve tool. If I mouse over here, click it, it does not seem to be highlighting, but it activated it still yet. And all this is I'm just going to start clicking dots, and you'll see that after a few dots, that curve starts to try to conform to that shape. Now, right now, it's sticking to the ground plane, because when I'm creating NURBS curves, it really likes to be a sticky object. Like it likes to stick on a certain plane, just for cleanliness reasons. So, hold on one second. I have a knock at my door. Hey, can you give me 2 minutes? Okay, cool. So once I've created this, the thing to recognize is I can also make this snap to things. So if I hold down X, we got a bunch of different snaps here. If I hold down X, I can snap to grid points, right? I can hold down X some more, snap to more grid points. If I hold down C, I can snap to curves. Right, so this is going to snap to another point on this curve, including the end. Or if I hold down V, it's going to snap to points. It's going to snap to other crosshairs, and this would include vertices or other objects, right? So that's some of the curve creation tools that we can use. So I'm going to start drawing in my side view with this EP curve tool. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to snap to the grid at my 0, 0, 0 point. So I'm going to hold down X and then click, and you'll see that it's going to snap to that grid. Now, I could hold down X again to go out here and grab some more points, or I could hold Shift, and Shift is going to keep it constrained in a single axis. And that's kind of hard to see with that background image, but it's going to keep it constrained pretty flat, right? So I'm actually going to hold Shift and get a couple of points there. And then once I get to this edge, I'm going to start rounding that off. Now holding Shift again, I'm going to start drawing straight up my bottle. I'm going to do a couple of points straight up just so I have some extra divisions. Now once I get to this point here, I want to just start clicking to make sure I kind of get around that profile shape. So continue around here. And so I'm just drawing this profile. We can zoom in as close as we want. Now, I don't necessarily know what's going on underneath this, but I'll probably never see that, so I'm just going to go up here and give me a spot to turn around. And then I'm also going to go ahead and do the inside of the bottle. Now, the inside of the bottle probably looks a little different than the outside. So I can just go down through here, sort of eyeball the thickness of this. Maybe that's a little too thick, I don't know. But I can go around the inside here. I'm just trying to get a profile that goes all the way around the inside of the bottle. Now once I'm here, I can hold Shift and kind of and once I get back down here to the bottom, I'll use a few extra curves to make this turn. And so this is the thing. Next thing I need to do is snap to this x-axis. Now, I could hold down X and it would snap it up there, or I could hold down Shift and it would snap it at a straight line, but I wouldn't be able to line it up perfectly with that x-axis. If I hold Shift X, it will do both. Okay, and so then I get that. And so you get an idea of what my curve looks like now. I can actually spend a little bit of time now, if I right-click on this and go to Control Vertices, I can spend a little time trying to clean this up and make this transition a touch smoother. Is this another point for that one? I'm not really sure. That's a little much there, so Control Vertices, who are you? Who are you? There we go. So I need that one there. Soften that just a little bit, how that transitions in there. This is definitely a little much. I think we can actually delete Control Vertices too and simplify it. So that works. Okay. And I'm just making sure I'm not getting any weird bends in anything. In all honesty, that feels a little too thick to me. Let's bring that a little closer in. All right. Nothing necessarily wrong here. I'm just trying to make this a slightly more appealing profile. There we go. So let's say that's what we're aiming for. I'll go back to my perspective view, and you'll see that really all we have is just this vertical curve, right? And so that's a nice profile of it. And you know, as I've shown you, I could duplicate that curve and loft that. But we also have this Revolve button right here. And so if I click that while I have that curve selected, it's going to generate that bottle. Okay, so basically what that did is it revolved from our center point all the way around until we got back to the beginning, right? And so now we have a relatively close approximation of that bottle. Here's the cool thing. Maya remembers how we create things. If I select this bottle, you'll see that it remembers that this was created with a revolve, right? And I could even go back and say, you know what, I don't want it to revolve all the way around. I want it to revolve just that far or something like that. I want it to go all the way around, but I could also add additional sections in it to make it refined a little bit more. So like there's a lot of different things that we could change about how this loft or this revolve was created, because Maya remembers the history of how it was created. Okay, that also remembers that the way it was created was with this curve, right? It remembers that this was part of the construction history. And so if I right click and go to control vertices for that curve, not on the model, I'm just on the curve, I can grab those control vertices that were used to make it, and I can change it, and it's still going to affect the bottle, right? So this is a pretty quick way to get various versions of this bottle, right? This is a completely different bottle, but it's still, it's still made from that same loft. Now, I don't usually like keeping that history too long, because let's say later I decide I'm going to move my bottle around somewhere and I grab this curve and move it. And it's, oh, oops, I messed up, right? I want my bottle to stay this bottle forever now. And so when I want that to happen, I just do edit, delete by type, history, and it forgets the way this bottle was created. And then if I grab that curve and move it, it's just a curve now. It has no relation to this. Now I'm going to undo deleting that history, because I actually still want to use that history for something. More than anything, just to show you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with my bottle selected. I'm going to go to modify and then convert. So this is how I can convert certain types of objects to other objects. So one of them is NURBS to polygons. And so if I just click that, you'll see that it made a polygon object out of my NURBS object, but it made a really ugly one, right? It's triangles everywhere, weird stuff pinned together. Like, that's just not a very good looking model, right? Didn't mean to do that. So that's not the one I want. I want to convert that differently. So I'm going to go modify, convert, NURBS to polygons. I'm going to go to my options box. So the first thing is I don't want triangles, I want quads. The second thing is I usually change this to general. And what this will allow me to do is say how many spans or how many surface isoparms are in here, and how many polygons do I want that to convert it to. And so for right now I could say for every isoparm I need 3 edges. Okay, so what I'm actually going to change this though is I'm going to go to the bottom one on this drop down list, per span number of isoparms. So I'm going to click that, and then when I hit tessellate, you're going to see that it's going to give me a model that is relatively hard to tell the difference. Now the interesting thing with all this is it's still connected in history to this bottle. So if I edit that, it's still going to change my polygon bottle, because that polygon bottle was generated from the NURBS bottle. This is how it's supposed to work. But again, once we start doing more animation with this, we may not want that connection anymore. So edit, delete by type, history. Okay, and now no matter what I do to this bottle, it's not going to affect our polygon bottle. Okay, so there's 2 different ways of getting 2 different bottles. One is through NURBS, and NURBS is a completely valid and useful way of generating a model. For me, I just like working in polygons more. To me, it's a little easier to texture them, a lot of things like that. So even if you're working in NURBS, you can convert to polygons, or vice versa. There is a convert. I guess there's not a polygons to NURBS. There's a polygons to subdivision surfaces, which is kind of like NURBS, or polygon edges to curves, which you could then use to. I guess you could do polygons to subdivisions and then subdivisions to NURBS. So there's a way of getting it back to the other one. There is one more useful thing about this, which I think is pretty cool about this convert, is if I make a box, that's a box, right? if I hit 3, we talked about how that gives us a smooth preview. Our smooth preview of that box looks like a sphere, right? If I added some more subdivisions to it, you'll see it'll start looking less and less sphere-like, but still the difference between 1 and 3 are different. But let's say this smooth preview version is how I want it to always look. I don't want it to change when I hit 1. What I can do is go to Modify, Convert, and then it's Smooth Mesh Preview to Polygons. And so this is another way to smooth your object. Okay? And so now this is a polygon model that is made up of a whole bunch of extra edges from the Smooth Mesh Preview, right? The thing about it is, though, is you can't go back now. You can't, I mean, you can hit Control-Z to go back, but you can't take this back to that simpler version of the model. So, hopefully that helps. Let me know if you have any questions about these two different modeling processes, and have fun. Bye.